Hello, hello. This is Lisa Princik, and welcome to the Scaling Deep podcast. I am doing my first attempt to do this via video so I can post it to YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hello and welcome, and nice to see you. I wanted to embrace video this year, and I'm so turned off at all the short 15-second, 30-second reel stuff, dancing memes, like all that stuff is just not my jam. So if I wanted to add video into my world and my content world, besides the free, the trainings that I do that are more in depth for events and for my membership and all that, I'm like, this is the way it's got to be. So we're combining the podcast with the video element. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can. It's going to be a little talking head for now, but I will be bringing in some guest speakers soon, and that will be a really fun way to share a conversation. And if not, you can keep listening to it on whatever app you listen to. But speaking of apps, I'm really proud to announce that I've launched the Scaling Deep app. Now, if you're on YouTube, I'm just going to put this up to the screen so you can see how pretty that little logo is. It's been about a month. Didn't take me very long, of course, because I've got tons of trainings. And for, I don't know, the last couple of years, I've been doing so many different trainings that I've got out there in the world on different summits and back somewhere on my website. And they're just buried there and no one can find them. And when I came across this idea of an app as something that would be really a place to host content, it's not necessarily where I'm running a membership or selling anything major. It's just a place that I can gather all my trainings and have it be easily available at your fingertips. So I'm going to encourage you to go check that out. Just go to your app store, wherever it is. I mean, it actually said it didn't take that long because I have tons of content. So it took me like a few days, and I was so excited about this. I would work till 11 o'clock one Friday night, which I never do, to get it all set up. And then I had to submit it to the Google Play and the Apple App Store, and my goodness, that thing got rejected 7 times for things like, we can't find your audio file, and because an actual person reviews it. Anyway, I won't get into that. It was just weird little glitches, and I was like, oh, but I'm putting this out there in the summit I'm on next week. I'm telling everyone, go get the app as the big call to action, and I'm like, it has to be ready, but it is, so I'm excited. And I think it'll just be a really interesting way to engage with people in a way that's a little more innovative and a little more interesting than let's just sit in front of a video. Who doesn't look at stuff on their phone? Who doesn't quickly engage with things that are fast and at their fingertips? So, and what a great place to keep all my trainings. Now, you can get it and download it for free, but you won't really get anything other than a few podcast episodes and some welcome videos from me. You'll have to pay the $1.99 in order to access all the trainings, but it's a small price for all those trainings. Anyway, that is my exciting announcement. And just getting into this topic today of I want to talk a little bit about launching, my recent launch, and some of the research I'm doing right now and some of the things I'm figuring out in my brand and how to sell, basically how to sell. So I think I mentioned last week on the podcast that I wasn't as excited, or I shouldn't say excited. I wasn't as happy with my recent launch as I thought. For some reason, I was expecting it to be the best one. A lot of signups for my Profitable Membership Club because I did this great boot camp and it was just so full of information and people participated. It was probably one of the things I did that felt the most wow, I'm really showing up and giving my all. And yet it did not sell very well. Or I should say, I didn't sell from that very well. And I have learned a few things from that and since then. And I know, right? I'm a quick learner. I'm a quick study. And what I'm really, really good at this year is experimenting and really, I can feel crappy for a moment or a day or so about it. But I'm also so determined that all it takes is tenacity to be successful in something that I'm using that 100%. I am literally like feeling super bad for a day, but not super bad, but just not great. And that's a real honest feeling. But then I'm moving on fast, and not because I'm forcing myself. I'm just realizing that it's all about the recovery and the try. And there's no ego involved with how quickly and how, you succeed and how fast and how easy it is. And I think that's all bullshit. And I just want to like totally recognize that despite the fact that I still have those feelings of doubt when things don't go as well as they do, they are so tied to ego and so tied to stuff that I'm ready to let go 100% of. So feel the feelings and then move on. But the nice thing is that within a day or two, I'm always like, oh, here's what I did wrong. And here's what I could do differently. It's a bit of this game of psychology and persistence and all that. But it's, I guess I'm finding it fun enough that, that I'm continuing, and I maybe my life has gotten a little bit easier recently in that I don't feel that I'm like overtired and exhausted and overwhelmed and done. Like, the pandemic's eased off. Like, we're pretty much post-pandemic here. People are still getting COVID, but everyone's out and about and hugging each other. And I happen to live in a smaller place where there's just not a lot of crowds. So that's great. That's helpful. My son is like getting way more independent. We've eased into our new home. It doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore. Starting to actually enjoy it because I love that. The yard, that's my favorite part of it. So that all feels like and the people in my life are doing better. The people who I sometimes worry about their wellness, their well-being seem to be finding their way a little bit more. And that gives me a little ease off of pressure to be able to take on more challenging things I have more bandwidth for it. So I am recovering fast, and I'm kind of getting over myself quickly and not trying to be successful right this second. Like, I don't need to brag. I don't need to tell everyone how great I'm doing. I don't like that. And I don't pay attention to that. And I actually don't really appreciate that about people who I like and admire and meet. So I'm okay with just like being less attached to my results, knowing that it's just a matter of time and working out some of the finer details. So I'm working on all that, and it allows me to see, well, what are my next steps and what are my mistakes? And when you're really open to that, those things come your way. So I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of the things that I think I have been in denial of, that I want to share with you, that goes a little bit against my righteous perfectionistic nature or prestige, maybe, like of being someone who offers something real versus fluff. Okay. I got to sell a little bit more of the fluff, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. All right. I gave away a ton of content in my boot camp, like too much content. And I get that now. I thought I was doing the right thing by giving so much away, but basically people walked away with a course. So, lesson learned, I won't do long multi-day trainings that are not programs that are at least like $500 or something like that I think might be an excellent way of actually getting people to know me and work with me and then want to continue on with the membership. And that might be a great place to say, like, here's your entry point. You need to work on launching, like, you don't know, feel confident enough with your membership that you need the pricing, the tech, and all that. Let's start there. We'll do this program together. It's a short one, a month long, and then they'll be like, yes, of course I want to continue the support. Or I have a membership, but I don't want to focus on all the foundations because I already have my tech, my pricing. I already know who's doing well in it, but I've got to grow it. And that's where we're like going to work on the funnel and the marketing for it, because it's important to keep enrolling people when we're growing a scalable group program. I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to give it away in a boot camp. And so I think that what that does is it gets people so far into the details of mapping it out that they start down that path, and they either get overwhelmed or they have enough to work on for a while and they don't need more support. So that lesson has been hitting me in a few different ways. Also, I'll tell you, I'm in a program, and that I just joined a program that I'll tell you about in a second, that she exactly said that. It's like, give them too much, they don't need more. So the one thing that she is helping us with in this program is really figure out that big transformation that we offer. Like, what is it that they ultimately want? And I work on all this stuff on my own brand all the time. But I also have felt like I've struggled with wanting to go down that line of offering massive promises that I can't necessarily control because I have such a strong ethical side. And yet, that's what people buy. And so really digging into in this course, this idea of what's the big transformation people want. And I do have that in my messaging and I do care, but I need to just be really focusing on that. And the program I'm in is actually all about turning your sales system into like an evergreen system. So meeting people with where they're at and giving them an irresistible chance, like an irresistible offer to buy right away when they get to know you. Like not right the same second, but when they're ready to join and take the next step with you, and then continuing to kind of like be working at getting them to take a step, and obviously knowing that you can help them and that you're pre-qualifying them. And with smaller items, courses, things that are under $1,000 and memberships that are monthly, I don't have any. There's no pressure. It's really just an invitation, but we need to be tenacious in our inviting, and that's something that I'm figuring out more so rather than just doing these sort of launch events. But it's also really about diving into that promise. So one of the things we're doing on these in this course is like go out and talk to your clients and people who bought from you and people who haven't bought from you and find out what's really really important to them. And I actually just had one call today, and the funny thing is that I asked her she mentioned some of the other big programs from like big named people. Like some of these people are like household names, like you'd know them no matter what background you have, you'd know who they are. And I thought like, and I asked her, why did you buy these programs? And she said, because of the promise, they promised me that I would be wildly successful. Okay. And that's the kind of BS that I don't like. And it's the kind of stuff that I think everyone says. And it's not within their control, especially when they are not connected to the person because they're selling these big things. And yes, the programs are good and they are transformational for a lot of people. They're not like terrible programs by any means. They're not taking people's money and not delivering anything that's valuable. Some of them are live in person. But still, I realized that that's what got her to buy, even though she's on a very tight budget, even though I was selling something that wasn't that expensive, relatively, and she didn't. So that really connected with me, a real example of if you give too much away, you get down into the weeds with people, you take them away from the promise, and they don't get excited enough to keep going with the vision. It's like I'm good, thanks, and you didn't sell me on the big vision enough. Huge lessons learned for me subtle lessons. Again, I didn't learn anything that I didn't already know, but now I know I need to tweak it. I need to tweak a few ways of how I deliver, how I bring people in, and how they know that this is right for them. And I'm excited to do that. I love doing interviews with people. In fact, you can sign up for one if you want. You'll just have to email me or get on my list, and I'll send out a bit of actually, maybe I'll even send it out through my app, an opportunity to just chat with me for 20 minutes to half an hour. And then I will gift you something inside my shop, something of your choice, just to find out a little bit more about what is going on for you and what are some of the reasons why you've done the things you do and what's valuable to you. And those kind of interviews I've done them in the past and they're really helpful. And I haven't done one for a while because I tend to pick up a lot from the conversations I'm in. But this program is like, you're going to do this evergreen style system, then you've got to know this stuff. So it's pushed me to do it. And of course, there's always tidbits. Even if people are not ideal who you're doing interviews with, there's always tidbits that bring together information and make the next step clear. Because again, we're always facing so many choices around what we decide to do, what we decide not to do, how big of changes we make, how drastic, what's most important thing to do given we can't do it all. And that's where getting that feedback and validation, which is what I like to offer inside the Profitable Membership Club to my members in there. It's the same thing. We all need it because that's what really gives us the best information. So that is my summary and plan of how to take information, what to do when you know something's not working as well. Basically, go out and find out firsthand and start to challenge and question your assumptions about what will work best. I swear by the end of this year, I will have played with so many things that I will know what works best for me, what works best for my members, my clients, and I'll come up with something that's going to be the most simple model of offering great value and also being able to sell, because we've got to be able to sell consistently in order to keep offering and delivering. I mean, we need to make a living from this, especially when we have a track record. We know we're good at what we do. We know we help people. We've got to be able to do that. And so we need to make sure that that is a massive priority. All concerns about crossing lines aside, because we are not usually the likely people who are crossing those lines and selling snake oil or whatever, something that's not going to help just for the sale. So that's my summary of what I'm bringing to you this week. Go check out the Sell with a Summit Membership Edition summit that's coming up next week, which will be super good. It's not only going to be just for people who have memberships who want to sell them or launch them with a summit. There will be a lot of good information in general around launching with events, and also just some great trainings with regards to memberships and how to strengthen them in general. So I really highly recommend you go check that out at sellwiththesummit.com. The links will be in the show notes. And then just go check out my app because that is the most fun thing that you can do to check out all the things I have. So thanks for listening today. I hope that I see you again on both mediums, audio and YouTube. And we're going to try this little experiment for now because it's all one big experiment. Have an awesome week. Bye for now.